All right, welcome to 6.1. The reason why I'm recording 6.1 is you actually know everything that you need to know for this guy. It's very, very straightforward. It's very easy. All we're doing really in chapter 6, we're talking about quadratics. And you've actually been dealing with quadratics for a while. You just didn't know it. So we're going to solve quadratics, and we're going to do it by factoring. Remember when we had rationals and you guys had to set the denominator equal to 0, and sometimes you had to factor that denominator and then get answers for it? What you were doing, exactly what we were doing in 6.1, you were solving by factoring. So there's really nothing new in here. I just want to give you some examples to practice to see how well you come out on top. Again, the factoring, most of these you're going to be doing trinomial factoring is really what you're going to be doing in the end. So when you solve by factoring, just a couple things I want you to note, make sure that you understand. So one, you need to make sure that your equation equals 0. If it doesn't equal 0, you cannot solve by factoring. So that means you need to add or subtract all variables and numbers to the left side. Get everybody on the left side. The left side is the easiest to deal with. Okay? So if it is not equal to 0, you have to fix that. If you don't fix it, you're not going to get the right answers. And it may not factor for you. So that's huge for us. That's your first step. Because once you make sure that it's equal to 0, then after that it's all over but the crying. Because all you're going to do after that is you're going to, sorry, had to move something out of the way. You're just going to factor. And don't forget that when you factor, a GCF is a part of that. This board is being touchy now. What are you doing, board? There it is. So once we get, once you get it factored, once you get it set equal to 0, all you got to do is factor. My board is being really weird. Is factor. Don't forget that GCF is a part of that, and then once it's factored, you set everybody equal to 0 and you solve. Just like when we were dealing with domain and you had to factor and set that stuff equal to 0 to solve. It's nothing crazy. You've actually done all this. We're just doing it again in 6.1. So it's nothing really new to you. Alright, so here's what I've got. Is it set equal to 0? Yep, so step 1 is done. So you're ready to go. It's ready to be factored. And so from here, you should always check for a GCF. There isn't one, but you should always check for that. And then you go and you do your factoring. So you can do the AC method that I taught you, the slide and divide that I taught you. Those of you that came in to learn guess and check, you can do that as well. So you factor this guy. And I just went ahead and did the AC method. And so of course though, because A is 1 on this, remember you can use my cheating method. Because A is 1, it makes things a whole heck of a lot easier. So here's your A, B's, and C's, 1, 6, 8. And then you got the 8 on top, because that's the A times the C. You got the B on bottom. And then I looked at my factors of 8, which are 1 and 8, 2 and 4. The only way to get 6 is with a positive 2 and a positive 4. And since A is 1, I now know what my parentheses have to be. One parenthesis is x plus 2. The other parenthesis is x plus 4. Okay? If you did the rest of the AC method, you'd actually be trying to factor this by grouping. So x squared plus 2x plus 4x plus 8. And you'd be doing grouping onto that, but you'd end up with the same thing, the x plus 2 and the x plus 4. So now that it's factored, what do? We take and we set each one of these equal to 0. X plus 2 equals 0, x plus 4 equal to 0. And we find out that x is equal to negative 2 and x is equal to negative 4. No need to check these. We're all good on this one. So there you go. I mean, that's really what you're doing in this section. get it set equal to 0, and then factor this bad boy. Just what they're going to try and do is they're going to try and mess you up because not everybody's going to be set equal to 0. So go ahead, try this one. All right. So again, on all of these, I just did the AC method. So I've got my A is 2, my B is 7, my C is 3. Now since A is not 1 in this case, you can't do the cheating method. So my top number is 6, my bottom number is 7. Because again, the top number is A times C, the bottom number is B. So factors of 6 are 1 and 6, 2 and 3. The only way I'm going to get a 7 is with a positive 1 and a positive 6. So here, completing out the rest of my AC method. So 2x squared plus 1x plus 6x plus 3. Remember, when you do the AC method, the beginning and the end stay the same. So the 2x squared stayed, the 3 stayed, and the 2 middle pieces came from playing the x games. All right, so now we're going to do grouping to solve. So I group my first 2, I group my last 2. What comes out of the first parenthesis? An x, because that's what both of those have in common. So that leaves us with 2x plus 1. Remember, whenever I said you do grouping, whatever this first parenthesis is, the second parenthesis has to be the same thing. So we just got to think to ourselves, what times 2x will give me 6x? Well, that would be a positive 3. And now you know what your 2 parentheses are. 2x plus 1, and the other one is your GCFs, x plus 3. And this is equal to 0. I didn't ask about that at the beginning, but it was already set equal to 0. And now you're ready to finish it out. So all we do is we take 2x plus 1, set it equal to 0, take the x plus 3, set it equal to 0, and do your solving. So you subtract 1, that gives you 2x equal to negative 1, divide by 2, divide by 2. So one of your answers is negative 1/2. This guy over here, just subtract your 3, x is equal to negative 3. And again, you don't have to check these are all good to go. So again, the key is getting it factored. And once it's factored, you just set them equal to 0 and you solve, just like what we did before when we did domain. All right, so here, are we equal to 0? And the answer to that question is no. But remember, I said right at the beginning, we'll fix this, and we want to move everybody over to the left side. So how do I move a negative 30x? Add 30x. I don't know why I put 3xx. That's weird. 30x. How do I move a negative 15? Add 15. So I'm going to add 30x over here and a 15. So what we have is 15x squared plus 30x plus 15 equal to 0. Now we can factor. Now we're ready to go. So as usual, factoring. First things first, you want to make sure or check if there's a GCF. And is there a GCF? Absolutely. All these numbers, 15, 30, and 15, can be divided by 15. So we're going to pull that out because that's going to make life for us in factoring so much easier. So if I pull the 15 out, well, 15 divided by 15 gives me x squared. 30 divided by 15 gives me 2x. 15 divided by 15 gives me 1. See, that's much easier to factor and reduce than when it was the 15x squared plus 30x plus 15. So now we worry about what's inside this parenthesis. That's what we have to factor. So again, I just did the AC method. So there's your A, B's, and C's. Play your X games. 1's on top, 2's in there. Stuffs keep flying around on me. Factors of 1 are 1 and 1. The only way to get 2 out of that is a positive 1 and a positive 1. And since your A in this case, inside my parenthesis is a 1, I can do my cheating. So in the end, this thing factors out to 15 on the outside, x plus 1, x plus 1 equal to 0. And now all you do is you set everybody equal to 0. And you even set the GCF equal to 0, because you should always check and see if your GCF will make sense. So if I take 15, because that's my GCF, set it equal to 0, does that make sense? No, not in this case. So you would actually end up throwing that out. But say my GCF, just hypothetically, was 15x equal to 0. Now that's something we could solve. So that's why you should check your GCF and set it equal to 0 to see if it makes sense. Because 15 equal to 0 didn't make sense. But if my GCF was 15x, that makes sense. I could solve that because I could divide both sides by 15 and find out that x equals 0. And that's something that we have to work with. But since 15 equals 0, doesn't make any sense, we don't worry about that. And now over here, you could take both parentheses and set them equal to 0. But since they're both the same, you really only have to do one of them. You only have to set one equal to 0, since both parentheses are the exact same. It's not going to change the answer either way. So what you find out is, in this case, there's only one answer, and it's x equal to -1. So if you have two parentheses that are the same, you really only have to do one of them, because if you did the second one, you're going to get the same answer anyway. All right. So from here, I got about 2 more left. So here, we're definitely not equal to 0. But the other thing they tried to do is they threw in some parentheses. So we got to do a couple other things first. One, get rid of your parentheses. So all they really want you to do is distribute. So take x times x, that's x squared. Takes x times -21, that's -21x, equal to -110. And now it's like the last problem. Get everybody over onto the left side. Once you got rid of that parenthesis, it's almost over, but they're crying. So we're going to add 110 to the left side. And what you end up with, x squared minus 21x plus 110 equal to 0. And now you're ready to go. Again, cool thing is, your A is 1, so you can do the cheating method on this. So your A is 1, your B is -21, your C is 110. X games, 110 up top, -21 down below. So we need the factors of 110. Well, here they are. Factors of 110 are 1 and 110. 2 and 55, 5 and 22, and 10 and 11. So the only way to get a -21 is with a -10 and a -11. And because I'm doing the cheating method, we get x minus 10, x minus 11 equal to 0. And now you can get your answers. Set those each equal to 0, x minus 10 equals 0, x minus 11 equal to 0, and x is equal to 10, and x is equal to 11. And there you go. All done. And again, you don't have to check the answers. Okay? One more problem. Here we go. So, all you have to do on this guy is kind of like before. We're going to do a little bit of foiling, and then we got to make sure it gets set equal to 0. So this is the hardest your homework will get. So over here, we need to do some foiling. We need the first, which is x squared. We need the outer, which is -2x. We need the inner, which is -1x. And we need the last, which is a +2. Equal to -9x minus 3. I would go ahead and do some combining of like terms and then move everybody over. But if you really wanted to move the -9x and the -3 over right now, you could. But I'm going to go ahead and combine like terms because these two get together real quick. So that gives me x squared minus 3x plus 2 equal to -9x minus 3. So now move everybody over. So how do you get rid of a -9x? You're going to add it. How do you get rid of a -3? You're going to add it. So plus 9x plus 3. And I lined them up under the people that they need to go together with. Too far down. So, in the end, this is what we're looking at and trying to factor. X squared plus 6x plus 5 equal to 0. So that's what you want to try and factor. And again, a is 1. We're kind of nice to you, so we try to make a easy for you guys. So a is equal to 1, your b is equal to 6, your c is equal to 5. 5 is on top. I'm about to put a 6 on top. 6 is on bottom. Factors of 5, 1 and 5. The only way to get 6 is a positive 1 and a positive 5. And since a is 1, I'm going to cheat. X plus 1, x plus 5 equal to 0. And again, to get our answer, all we do is we set these guys equal to 0. X plus 1 equal to 0. X plus 5 equal to 0. So x is equal to a negative 1. X is equal to a negative 5. Again, that's 6.1. Nothing crazy, nothing new there. It's just factoring. So make sure that you get set equal to 0, factor, and then take your parentheses and set them equal to 0. And that's it. Have fun.